Hello, friends. It's Rachel Archelaus, and I just realized today, thinking about, everyone's waking up, everyone's having their own awakening symptoms of the shift, etc., that 20 years ago, I thought I was crazy. Well, I didn't think I was crazy, but a lot of other people did. And I was actually just writing a little article for therapists about this and about what's happening and about how people are feeling because I did not have a good therapy story. I mean, what happened was, as you know, I've been psychic my whole life. I've always seen spirits and spirit guides and, you know, lots of cool stuff has always happened to me. I've always seen angels and such. I even, would be the translator for all of my deceased relatives at family parties and stuff. They'd all tell me what they wanted the whole group to know. So that was all very beautiful, though. It was very loving. I was never scared, except for the first time I saw angels. That was terrifying, but I was really little. So that was all fabulous and beautiful, and I never had that like fear of anything happening to me. Until I moved into an incredibly active house when I was a teenager. When I was 14, I moved to a new town and we moved into a new house, and instantly things started going really badly. Um, Parts of the house made me feel nauseous. If I stepped in them, it would be like, this step's fine. I would take a step forward and whoop, this step, no go. I saw all sorts of new kinds of spirits that I didn't know existed. I There were multiple different kinds of like activities in the house. There was someone always sitting on top of the fireplace. There was a line of like ghosts going in and out of the fireplace and like in this loop through the entryway. It was really bizarre to me because I'd never had that experience except in movies. I mean, like I think Poltergeist, like there's crazy stuff happening in the house all the time. It's just always on. And I had new kinds of visitors that would visit me specifically, and I've heard this referenced a lot, a tall man in a top hat. Now, if that makes you shudder, you may have had some uh, activity with him too. It was just insane, total insanity. I put so much energy in my bedroom. I tried to make this shield of energy so that I could feel safe enough to go to sleep. But at a certain point, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sleep in that house. And my mother and I went and lived with my grandmother for a time because I couldn't handle it. And in the midst of all of that, we didn't know what to do. My parents weren't seeing all of this stuff until a little bit later. They did have their own experiences. But in the beginning, my talking to grandpa who died became something completely different for them, right? Like I was being affected by it. I was having trouble going to school. I was having trouble going to a restaurant. I couldn't even go out in public. It was very debilitating to me. And I would describe it to them, but they didn't really know how to help me. They couldn't really even understand what I was going through. And so they tried to find help. We did go to the Warrens. They are like ghost hunters, for lack of a better word, or were really. They're kind of retired now, and the husband Ed passed away several years ago. But they were known for dealing with these kinds of cases, and at least we figured they could be a validation. So my parents brought me to them. They did verify that I was, seeing auras and fully my psychic senses were open. And then they came to the house, and Lorraine walked around and really validated all the things that I was telling my parents. So that was nice, but it wasn't really much of a help. They weren't counselors. They weren't really able to be a coach. And so Lorraine suggested that I go see a therapist about it. And so I went to the therapist, and it was nice to be able to talk about what was happening, but the therapist just wanted to know what her aura looked like. And so she wasn't really able to help me at all. So here I was, totally, sleep deprived, anxious, not sure what's going on, having trouble sleeping, waking up with bruises and all these weird things. I mean, it was intense. And no one was really able to help me. And 20 years ago, there weren't books on the subject, there weren't TV shows about, psychic mediums or ghost hunting. We were pretty much in the dark. The very few books that were out there were very dark and heavy. One of them was called Psychic Protection, and it was like, put a bubble of white light around you, but it was like, it felt very hard to do, very heavy. And so finally, we were referred to a psychiatrist who's a medical doctor and is different from a therapist. And he was pretty brutal. You could tell that he was not comfortable at all talking about what we were talking about. And he suggested that I go to a facility, which you know what that means, right? She's crazy, folks. Send her away, give her some medication, tell her to get better. And I was not going to have that. And my mother certainly was not in agreement with his suggestion. So that did not happen. I did not get sent away. But I still didn't get the help that I needed from some outside source. So I was on my own for a long time. I met people along the way that did shed some light on what was happening. I met some people who were going through something similar, and that was amazing. But it would have been great to be able to talk to someone who could actually understand what was happening to me and help me through it. I didn't design my life like that, right? So I designed everything. I wasn't a victim of anything. I designed to do it on my own, which worked out fine. Now I know how to, help the other people go through a similar thing, and hopefully not as a dramatic a thing, but it all turned out okay. And I think the best we can do is be honest with ourselves, with our friends, with our family, if that feels good, so that people don't feel so alone. Because I know even if you're going through the shift right now in a much less dramatic way, you may feel like you can't talk about it because people will think you're crazy. But if you talk about it, then you're allowing someone else who feels the same exact way to feel heard and understood and be able to share their story too. So if you want to share your story of the shift or your psychic senses opening or whatever you want to call it, go for it and use the hashtag psychic life, because I think it would be really fun to read your stories too. If you want me to post them, you can email them to me or put them in a comment on any of my pages and I'll share them too. Let's help people feel not alone. And if you're in a situation right now where you want someone to talk to, I did just make available a new kind of session on my site to help you know what's going on and why. Give you some context, help you understand why certain symptoms are showing up for you, what kind of integration is happening for you, and hook you up with your spirit guides as well so they can help you through it. You can go to Sepphoris.com and go to the Work with Rachel tab. I'm sure I'll put the link in here soon, so you can just click on it. But Sepphoris.com, Sephyrus.com. And yeah, I'll be able to talk to you and help you through it. So I hope you've enjoyed my story of my psychic sensing awakening. It's obviously the very abridged version. I will be coming out with a book on this. Many people have been waiting, God, so long. I can't believe it's been 20 years. And I think it'll be fun. And I think it'll be very therapeutic for me to write about. So if you're looking forward to the book, let me know. Give me some more motivation to get it done. And yeah, lots of love, guys. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.